Good morning, everyone. It's so good to have you here today as we continue our series. Today, we start another series that talks about career planning and development as a leader. And I'm starting with redefining or reinventing yourself after job loss. I hope this will benefit a lot of persons. For those who don't know me, I'm Dr. Marcia Thomas. I am a Christian leadership consultant, motivational speaker, life and career coach. I am also a best-selling author with a book that I have based all these sessions on that I call A Leader Like You. I am centered on helping women, career leaders, professionals generally, but women who are 40 and over and who need to identify their purpose and align their purpose with their career, whether moving up or out or into their brilliant business idea. So that I help them to transition so that they can make the meaningful connection, be joyful in their work, and also make it profitable. I thank all those who come in today, and we want to get going so that I can use my time profitably and well. All right, as I begin to talk, I want to present this quote that I love very much. It says, "Success is 10% inspiration and 90% determination and 100% pretending you know what you're doing." I love that very much because I have a great sense of humor and this appeals to me, and I'm sure it is appealing to other persons who have joined. Success is 10% inspiration, 90% determination, and 100% pretending you know what you're doing. I always say in these series, this is the tagline for my series: your success or your journey of purpose and growth starts with you. If not you, then who? I always say that. Thank you for joining, Tanique. So great to have you, my esteemed colleague and dear friend. Hi, Nicholas, my converted supporter. I am so happy to have you. I appreciate the effort you make to join me and to support me much more than you know. So it's nice to have you. Good afternoon. All right, so we want to step into what I would think is a very interesting discussion for me, simply because 2025 is seeing the most unprecedented layoffs and resignations in the history of the world. And it's across the globe. And these unexpected turns and life events can be earth shattering and they can be empowering. It depends on your mindset and what you feel you have in your hand. And so I want us to understand that that is the premise on which I want to share this morning. Because I want you to know that often what feels like the end of the world is simply a challenging pathway to a far better place. I believe that, especially as I speak to Christian career professionals and also those who believe that nothing just happens, everything has a reason. I say, let's find the reason. Don't focus on the what, focus on the why. I know that sometimes we must lose what is comfortable to step into what's possible. Very important that we understand that. Job loss can and often makes people feel uncertain, very discouraged, very stuck, especially when you are not expecting it, very helpless. And remember that our job, we can transition. It can be a layoff. It can be that you are retiring. It can also be that there is an unjust or unfair dismissal. It can be that someone has transitioned into a position and they don't want the team with them. Whatever reason, there's a job loss. And notice I say, whatever reason for the job loss, it's not what it seems on the surface. So let us take away the cobwebs and let us kill the spider. For those who are fearing, very anxious, feeling very helpless, and those who feel that they are unprepared, I want you to know that whatever happens in relation to your life, it is really in God's hands. And it is often the beginning of something greater. In fact, in my opinion, it's a divine setup for your next assignment. And if you look at it like that, you will appreciate Proverbs 29, verse 18, that says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And so if you focus on the what, you are likely to be sinking in depression with great fear and anxiety. You might just have the anxiety attack. You might get bitter. You might begin to alienate and isolate yourself instead of immersing yourself in the new opportunities that are everywhere. You just have to look to find them. And it might seem like a cliche, and it might sound like because you have it good or you have it intact that you don't know. And I'd say, when you deal with many issues that takes away from you everything that you hold dear, or everything that you possess that you thought was security, when you lose that and realize that you have only yourself, you come to appreciate how much power you have when you are determined and focused. You come to appreciate that you're your greatest asset. And you learn to appraise and approve yourself when you see how far you have come. So when all of the things are taken away from you and you have yourself, that is when you truly appreciate yourself. That is when your deepest thoughts step into place. You see, when you're desperate, you develop means for survival that shocks even you. You birth your purpose. You affirm your purpose. You ratify your purpose when you are in a desperate place and has no way out but you. You dig real deep and you realize your potential and you harness your potential to do what your heart and soul is now telling you. And that is what your heart and soul was longing for, to be nourished, for you to listen to it. And so I keep saying, you keep apologizing to your purpose when you are in the comfort illusion or the productivity illusion. But when those things are taken from you and you have just yourself, you actualize and fulfill your purpose and potential because you find the means to survive, and it is usually joyful. It's now the real deal and the joyful because you pull on your natural skills and your talents, your creativity, your gifting to survive. And many businesses, many heroes, many champions, and many mentors and great, successful, memorable, unforgettable men and women got to this place before they birthed their purpose. And they did not look back, they did not turn back because the fulfillment was so great because they were doing what they loved, what they were created to do. They knew why they now exist, and they understood the purpose that they were created to solve. They understood that before they were born, God established them right before they were even formed in the womb. He knew them. And before they were born, he established what it is that they should become and what they should be doing. And this is when it is understood, when you're in that different desperation stage where you're no longer able to be certain and your circumstances are no longer predictable and you have to rely on yourself, the universe, and God. Good morning, Curtis. Thanks so much for joining. And so, Hildo, it's so long I haven't seen you. I appreciate you joining us this morning. All right, so we want to talk about the secret of change. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but building the new. And so I say, leave it in God's hands because it is often the beginning of something greater. As I said before, it's your divine setup for your next assignment. The question I want to ask you is, now that you are jobless, are you ready to live? Are you ready to achieve? Are you ready to on the expertise and the skills and talents that you poured into someone else that you cheered on, that you were committed to totally, that you showed up for and that you showed to people, someone else that you built and made very successful. You were tireless in that, had sleepless nights. You missed your doctor's appointments, you missed your dentist appointments, you missed important celebrations for your children. You forgot you had to make up for all of those things to make sure that someone else was successful. Now it is time to pour all of that into your life, into your endeavor, into your business, into your product, into your service. Are you ready? And so the key discussion points I want to have today is that how do you see your job as a divine redirection? Thank you for joining, Latricia. Thank you so much. Derek, thank you for joining on YouTube. All right, overcoming fear, self-doubt, and uncertainty with faith, practical business and career ideas for financial stability. And I want us to look at some declarations and prayers and scriptures for breakthrough. All right, so let's talk about how to see your job loss as a divine direction. So let's talk about how we cross over. I want to say to you that the journey is much easier when you are not carrying your past. So I want you, the first step is to acknowledge the emotions that come with your job loss, the fear. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not to be fearful. You can be fearful. Fear is not a bad thing. The faith and fear requires the same amount of energy. And it's not a bad thing if you use it as a tool to propel you into what you need to do. When you make it an ally and you actually look to it for guidance and for support and for comfort, then you are putting yourself in some trouble. You want to get over on the faith side. Faith doesn't mean that you are sure. Faith comes with its share of uncertainty. It comes with its share of testing. It comes with its share of helplessness. But it comes with a power that I am helpless, I am feeling a little fearful, I am uncertain, I am a little helpless, but all things are possible. And so that fear is extremely serious. And here Leslie is joining in, and good for me, very good for me, because I like that. Hello, Margaret. Nice to have you too. And Leslie, job loss brings up the fear of poverty, which we have highlighted here. Very good. Job loss brings up the fear of poverty, that uncertainty, that helplessness, that feeling that you won't be able to provide for yourself and your family can be devastating. But I don't want you to focus on what, the job loss, which is the what. You want to focus on why. Why is this happening can transform your fear into faith, because you get the answers that transform your life and actually transform your ministry and actually press you in towards your purpose. So you are saying, why is this happening now? Is a good question. Why is this happening now? Look for the answers. The answers will be inside of you. The solutions are right there in that problem of the job loss. If your answer rests on the fact that each of the lessons you are now finding out is unique, has a unique power to shape your mindset and actions, then you begin to shift your mindset in the right place. Because as I say, faith and fear requires the same amount of energy and focus. And so we have faith, although we are fearful. We are highlighting that. All right. I see Leslie too joining me. We have faith in our fear. Very much so. I have established that premise very much. And so the answer you're likely to get, if you're looking hard enough, as I say, if you realize that in pouring into others, in building other people's business and so on, you now need to put that into your business, your expertise, all the lessons you have learned, all the skills you have expanded on, you have enhanced, you have improved, you have mastered in the space that you were. All of that composite, you now need to know who you are. You now need to harness that superpower that is in you. You now have yourself, and you now have a new direction, and you now want to understand that God is doing a new thing. It springs up and you must perceive it. And so you want to dig into your heart and your soul, and you want to ask the question and honestly answer, why is this happening now? And not, why is this happening now when I have someone in my family with a terminal illness? Why is this happening now when I'm at the peak of my profession? Let me give an example of what I'm saying. A dear friend of mine, who is the wife of a pastor, completed her PhD a year and a half ago, and got the job of her dreams. Her greatest desire was given. In her gratefulness, she began to have symptoms, and they discovered that she had brain cancer. It took her very hard, but it took the family, a toll on the family greater, because of the many things that, many plans that the husband and wife would have had at 54. She died on Sunday, but she died doing what she loved, to the point where she could manage, because after a while, the cancer devastated parts of her brain that made her not remember people and made her not be able to recognize or to hone the things that she did. So because she opened her mind to hear, she said, why is this happening now? She was able to prepare all of what she wanted to prepare and what she wanted to get done in her life as far as possible and as far as it could be allowed. And she found, as all of us, that if you are not tied into your purpose, if you don't have a why, if there is not a reason for you to do what you're doing, if you're not impacting life, if you're not inspiring, if you're not growing, it's an empty thing at the end that we call success instead of significance. Significance is knowing that you helped someone as you pass along. You did a duty that God required you to do. You change the outcome for someone. Make sure that what you're doing change the outcome for someone. Make sure you are doing what you love. Make sure that you are participating in those efforts that are adding value to you and to others, that are pushing you towards your peace, because you must walk in that direction, the direction of your peace, that you're feeling fulfilled at the end of the day when you lie in your bed, very tired, and also sometimes wondering if, especially if you have a non-profit organization, how you're going to get those things done But with all amidst all of that, there is so much fulfillment. You feel that if you die right now, you would have left a mark of treating persons with kindness and respect and trust, empowering persons to change their outcomes and empowering persons to become masters of their own destiny. All right. So I guess I see a comment here. It happens all the time to different degrees throughout our life. I think that is the changes, Leslie, the interchange of faith and fear, the aspects where we reach for what we really want, and then something comes in to take that out, and we feel that why is it happening at this time? So when you ask that question, answer it honestly and look around for the answers because they are there. And the answers must push you into your purpose, into your why, into what you now need to do to feel, to actualize your purpose, to leave that impact, to inspire and to grow. Yes, put that effort that you put into pouring into other people's calling and cheering them on and making sure that they were successful. Turn it inward and make sure that that is what you do for you. Hi, Lowe's. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much for joining. All right. So we want to thank you so much, Leslie. Yes, purpose is very important. Purpose, I say every single person has this desperate need for meaning and for fulfillment. And that is what purpose does. As we move from fear to faith, we travel on that journey towards purpose and understanding. And as I said before, for those who are just joining us, it is when you get to that moment of desperation, when you are so helpless and you're at the point where you can't seem to find the answers, that you are at your purpose peak, your highest vibration, to do what your heart is telling you and has always been telling you to do, and to answer that nurturing and yearning in your heart. And that is it. So how do we see job loss now as something meaningful, as a divine setup for your new assignment and for you to move forward? We want to say that some things that we think are the end of the world is really a pathway to a far better place. And so the next step we want to do. So the first step was that we acknowledge the feelings that we're having, regardless of what they are with the job loss. We acknowledge it. Talk to someone. Speak to God, do whatever we need to do, but we must honestly say, I am fearful. I am desperate. I am afraid. I feel helpless. I feel betrayed. I am so angry. Because I had explained the different reasons for job loss. And some of them are really unfair and unreasonable, very dependent on the whims and fancies of persons. And so we have to acknowledge it, and then we have to begin to make the mindset shift. Instead of saying, why me? Just say, what is God teaching me? What is it that I have in me now that I need to use for myself? What is my calling that I must be pouring into? What must I be overcommitting to? What must I be doing for me? What is it that I love to do? Who can benefit from what I love to do, my natural giftings and talents? How can I serve them, and what are the solutions I want to provide? And what can I be paid for? Are questions that you must now ask yourself as you make the mind shift, because job loss is really a gift. Very good, Leslie. I love that. The opportunity to make a difference elsewhere. Something that requires you to look up and not down. And I say it this way, this detour that is called job loss is sometimes your setup for greater impact. Of course, I said it. It depends on your hand and your mind when it has happened. And so we want to renew our mind and get to that place where Leslie has just indicated by looking up. We must renew our mind. We must begin to look inward, just as I said, and look at those, how I can now pour into my calling. The time, the 30 years that I've spent pouring into someone else calling, cheering them on, making sure that they are successful must now be turned inward. So you can now cheer yourself on and make sure that you are successful because you have now become significant, meaning you're impacting lives, real lives, with your giftings and your natural talents that you have given. You're understanding why you were created, and you are now understanding the problem that you are created to solve. Because even when you were serving others, even when you were cheering on others and making sure that they were successful in those 30 years, you also served other people in an informal way, and also in that formal setting that pulled on you for services and for things that were not embedded in the workplace, which is your natural gifts and calling. And so you must now understand what is the problems that you were solving that were not related necessarily to your job line. And even in your job, what was the consistent problems that you were solving? How did you change the lives of those around you with your natural gifting and your skills, your expertise and your talents? How did you allow them to become masters of their own destiny? Were you impacting, inspiring, and allowing them to grow? What were you using? What were you using to do that? What did you have in your hand that you were dishing out all the time that allowed persons to do that? You focus on those skills and those expertise and talents that you have been using naturally, consistently, that gave you joy, and you begin to pin it down into who you know can help outside of the role that you were in, and know how you can position yourself to be paid for those services. And so you must go where your strengths are welcomed and appreciated. Very good, powerful, profound point, Leslie. Everything has its source. Trust the purpose in the process. I say that, Margaret, and I say trust the processor. So you trust the process, you trust the processor, and you trust the processing. Although it may come with heartache, it is a blessing in disguise. I agree. I have a postcard that I say trust the processor. When you're at a loss and you don't know what to do, you now have to trust the process, the processor, and the processing. I believe that with all my heart. Thank you for that point, Margaret. All right. So sometimes it's not really easy to go where your strengths are welcome and appreciated, because you have to find where your strengths are welcome and appreciated, and you cannot use what you don't know that you have. And so going where your strengths are welcome and appreciated means that you have to go on a faith, you have to make a faith transition. And that faith transition means that you trust that God allows shifts to position us for better. And Genesis 50 verse 20 tells that story. I know that some persons might not be able to relate, but Joseph was born into a family. He was a favorite child. He was loved naturally. It was not his fault, but he was not loved because of it, and he was put out of position. So they even tried to take his life, but when he got out of that and he became his nice self, he used his gifts and talents. He was comfortable where he is. He was not interfering with anybody. He was accused. He was put in prison and so on. But his purpose was really to save his family and to preserve a country out of famine. At the end of it, that's what happened. But it pushed him into his purpose. He got his preparation stage. He got to do books. He got to be able to oversee small persons in prison. And then he oversaw things in his boss place when he got out and was able to decipher the dream. He moved from that sustenance place to the anointed place where he used his wisdom and his expertise to solve complex problems. And then he was appointed into a higher frame that he became the minister of I would say, Minister of Security and also of Provisions. And as he got there now, he became commissioned. He saw his duty. He changed outcomes, the mindset of his brothers who were cruel. He tested them to make sure that they were at the place where they were supposed to be. And then he helped and reunited his family and also preserved the nation. And so we want to understand that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him and who have been called according to his purpose. Again, I say sometimes that detour is your setup for greater impact, for you to go where your strengths are welcome and appreciated. Most times it is in your own business, it is across another framework, And sometimes it is really within. Good morning, Karen. Thanks so much for joining. All right. So we want to make that faith transition, because that faith transition is extremely important. How do we make that faith transition? How do we overcome the fear, the self-doubt, and acquire faith? We want to say we have to move positively. We have to recognize that our identity is really not in our job title. The sum total of who we are, the relationships that we find ourselves in, the network, the personal characteristics and strengths and unique talents that we possess, and our connection with a higher power, knowing that if that higher power did not see fit to have that sperm and that egg meet, no matter how great our parents are and no matter how hard they worked at it, we would not be here, is really the framework of our identity. The spiritual currency of our identity, the sum total of who we are, our relationships, our experiences, and so on, is really our character. And that is very important, because our character is pulls from and eliminates the purpose that we are. It's because of our experiences, it's because of our skills, it's because of our expertise, it's because of our circumstances, the environments that we want to fight to live or that has built us. It is because of all of those things, the joys and sorrows that we have experienced throughout our life, that sometimes push us deeply into and set us firmly, almost like setting us in concrete in our purpose. And job loss is one of them, very important one. And so overcoming our fear and self-doubt and moving towards faith, it's very important. And Leslie says, as co-creators, thank you so much. We can trust our creator to point us to the right path, very much so, if we understand and trust in the Lord with all our hearts and not lean onto our own understanding. Because you see, doubt and worry will only slow us down. We have to focus on doing our best now. And we have to thank you, Alison, for joining. And we have to celebrate every step towards faith. Very important. And so the financial insecurity, the fear of poverty, and the rejection, uncertainty about the next steps can be overcome if we speak faith declarations over our future. So we dream, we dare, we focus, and we are consistent and determined. We keep it in the forefront of our mind, and we take the steps that will take us to where our heart is driving us, because that is the sum total of our purpose. We walk by faith and not by sight. We trust the process, and that is the sum total of what we are saying, because faith is really what we hope for, and it is the evidence of what we cannot see in the present, but visualizing and firmly tucking it into our minds, working towards it consistently every single day, and allowing God to guide the steps takes us there. One of the ways that after speaking and declaring what will happen, so I shall live and not die, job loss. When I had to make my transition because of a life-changing event after losing so many members of my family, one of my declarations was, I shall live and not die to declare your words. And so God, very good point, God whispers his plans to us by way of intuition. We must listen. Listen to the promptings that God placed on our hearts and on our minds. Follow the direction he's leading. Recognize the destiny helpers and what you're being asked and how you're being asked to show up and where you're being asked to show up despite your job loss. Another thing that I say is that you must start a gratitude journal. You notice I didn't start from a place to say you must look at your skills and your talents and so on. Because you know them. You know them. And when you step into your purpose, whatever your experiences and your challenges, your wins, whatever your nature, natural gifting and skills have put into you, you have been pouring it into somewhere else. The same place that is your job loss, because you were on the perfection and practice ground. So you don't need to reassess, in my mind, spend all of your time reassessing. What you need to do is that you need to be placing it now. You need to look at what are your giftings and your talents that you love. What is your preference? Because when we use our gifts, they become multiplied. When we are impacting, our gifts improve and they expand. When we are inspiring, we get to that stage where the light, and I'm going with Leslie now, meet us where we are, and it becomes brighter and brighter as we move. And that's why I call this leading by light. And then you are growing. You grow yourself and you grow others. You know what you have been doing. What you need to do is see what has been your consistent part, because many times when we are pouring into others, when we're making sure that they show up well and unapologetically, when we are making sure that they are successful and that they stamp their significance and their influence and impact, we do not realize what we are doing consistently. So I say to people, look at what you are doing consistently, who you are serving formally, and more importantly, informally. You see, our purpose pushes us into informal settings, and those informal settings are usually life-changing, and they impact lives and outcomes, and they change ministries. And so we want to make sure that we look at what is changing persons' lives and outcomes informally most of the time. So there are so many persons who are in a job and your description is there. You fulfill your job description, but you are doing so many other things that when you sit down and add all of the other things that you're doing, you realize that all of the other things that you're doing are more than what is on your job description. And so that is where you want to rest, because that's how you really serve in the informal structure, which in any organization is more powerful than the formal structure. And so you want to look at those things that are not seen, those things that you don't pay attention to. That's what I'm saying. And you center your gifts and talents to see who you really serve, what are the solutions that you provide, and what it is that you love doing among all of those informal things that you find yourself consistently doing naturally and almost innately and intuitively without even recognizing. When you pat those down, you know, see what you can be paid for and what you need to be paid for that you have been giving away all along. And so every day we have to reaffirm ourselves so that our steps are guided by God, and our preparation for job loss is as natural as the job that we are now doing. And that's it. Because if you prepare to fail, if you fail to prepare, you have to prepare to fail, because you being in the moment doesn't mean discomfort illusion and productivity illusion many times makes these things appear unexpected. But if we are reaffirming ourselves and we are stepping in that path that is guided by God, sometimes we have lost the job without even recognizing, because our mind is there. Our body is there, but our mind is on the other side of town, which is the purpose. And we begin to feel that deep disconnect. Our priorities are changing. It's no longer fulfilling what we are doing. And we are feeling guilty and don't know what crime we have committed. We just not feeling fulfilled. And of course, we are achieving, we are getting accolades, we're meeting deadlines, we're at the top of our game. Persons look to us. But when all is said and done, there is this misalignment that you can't explain. You just can't explain what is missing. You know something is missing until you are left desperate. You lose your job or your relationship goes awry, your 40-year marriage changes. Your children are no longer need you as much as you think they needed you. And so the moment something happens and you can't be there, you realize that they go on with their lives and they are very comfortable. And so this indispensable illusion also comes to attack you. And when you're right there, you now say, it's time for me to do something for myself, to do what I love. You don't have to wait until that time. You don't have to wait until that time. I also say in the job loss, you want to get rid of your fear and your doubt. You want to look at your gratitude journal. What have you accomplished in that position, in that role that you serve? Because of your identity is not your job title. And we want to make sure. So in that role, what did you find joyful? What did you accomplish? What were your past wins? How has God been faithful? You want to make sure that you look at that. You also want to start looking at where you know the possibilities of where you want to be, and you want to settle on the one that gives you the greatest peace. Walk in the direction of that peace. So if it is that you wanted to be a nurse all along, as I say, one of my clients got into a case where she had a job loss. She knew she no longer fit there because they were transitioning her out in her 50s, and they were actually training someone, and they were being undermining her and were being condescending, and she decided that it's time for that job loss. So she chose it. She walked away. And when she spoke with me, she spoke to me as a friend, and then she became a client, where we pulled her into what is it that the one thing you would want to do before you die. And she said, I have always wanted to be a nurse. I always feel that that is the direction God was sending me into, because I love to help people, and I love to make them comfortable, especially persons who are feeling pain. And she moved on to actually completed the nursing degree. She did her 3 years. She did her training, and she's a nurse. At 63, she's practicing as a nurse for the last 2 years. It's never too late for you to find your dream. But if she was not pushed out, she would be retiring in a job that she no longer liked or loved. And by the way, she was in business. She was an accountant. And so it was a complete pivot, a serious different pivot, very serious pivot, and it can be made, but it was the job loss that pushed her in that direction. There was also another person who actually had to be separated from a husband who was cheating on her, and she actually started her business. And the separation was not as nice as she would want it to be. She had to walk away and leave her house. She was left desperate, and she had to leave her job because of the implications and the fact that persons knew what was happening in the community because of his actions. Of course, I know I can't go into details. And she had to go into the deep blue sea. She had to depend on her savings for a while, and she just couldn't get the job in the skill sets that she has and the qualifications. And she just started to start her business. Her business was that she loved to cook and bake cakes. She started a restaurant. It took some time, of course, and because your purpose does not come on to you immediately, it's not because you wish it or dream it that it happens. You have to take strategic actions. There is some amount of challenges, there's some amount of want or helplessness. But when you get to that place, the universe really serves you and gives you what it is that you decide and are very absolutely sure that you want. And I remember that when Leslie gave an example of when she wanted to get into her role, and that she got the inkling from a gentleman. Of course, I'm paraphrasing her story, and she didn't see the funds, but much more as she visualized and committed and set her mind on it, she got funds later from her partner, who gave her some money that was perfect. She didn't look back, and she's now an expert in what she's doing, a wisdom bank, a fountain of manifestation and empowerment for those of us who need to be pushed in that direction, does it very well and very naturally. And so we want to understand all of those. Good morning, Joan. Nice to see you. And she says she's now in the vibration of love, inspired to write, of course. And I agree with you. Thank you to your master teacher. Awesome, simple articulation of complex concepts. Thank you very much. All right, so you want to speak your faith declarations over your future. You want to be sure of that. You want to look at your past wins, and you want to acknowledge how God has been faithful. And you want to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not onto your own understanding. So you're going to tell God what it is now that you should be doing and how ready and surrendered you are. Stability is another important thing. How do you get to that? I say before, when you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. When you are sure of what is the prompting on your heart, when you are listening to your soul, When you are now desperate and in that place where you now have to pour into your calling, you now have to ensure that you are successful and that you carry the significance that makes success permanent, that leaves a legacy. Now have to be inspiring and motivating and impacting someone. When you push into that direction now and you have just yourself, which now becomes your greatest asset, and you are now deciding to be master of your own destiny, whether you are looking at another job that more resonates with your core values, your principles, and that give you joy, or you want to transition into your brilliant business idea or your brilliant idea of how you feel that you should be serving, or you want to just move upward. Whatever it is, it can be done if you now look at your skills and your talent. So you can become a consultant or a coach in your area. You can help others using your expertise. You can now certify yourself if you're not certified. So for example, if you have HR experience, you may want to offer some leadership career or so coaching. You may want to look at change management. You may want to look at human development and the psychology of it because you would have had that background and that experience. If it is that you were an HR manager, but you knew that your heart cry to pivot would have been that you want to become a hair nutritionist. Listen to me now. So you want to have people know how to balance their nutrition and with their hair growth and their body, how they can do this naturally. If that is what you're inclined to and has been practicing, has been following those gurus, has proved it for yourself, you want to know, give that service. Or if you feel that you would want to create a product based on your knowledge and your expertise that you would put together in a nice hair conditioner and so on. Of course, some people want to pursue that. So you might want to pivot completely and start developing either a product or a service using your expertise or what you actually do naturally and your gifts and talents. So mindset and self-awareness is important. We have looked at that at the start. Yes, Joan, thank you for reminding us. So you'll become very aware of yourself when you have only yourself. And you will become very strong when you realize that that's the only thing you have. Strength is the only thing you have because there is nothing else. And we said in earlier that job loss tends to push you in that direction. When we pivot and allow God to do his work in and through our lives, we become masters of our own destiny. And that is exactly what happens. We also have learned that, and this is from Leslie, which is very important, the universe is always, cooperating with us or co-creating with us. Leaning into our intuition and inner wisdom is actually key. Very much so. Thank you for joining us, Leslie. It's Lisa, it's nice to see you. We're talking about how to reinvent yourself now after your job loss, how to redefine your career after. You can also teach leadership, wellness, or business skills. And of course, I will be zoning into those things. You can also, if it is that you manage a service product, you can also look at how customer service, you can look at how to build good customer service, the things that are not usually shown or known by persons, how to please customers and so on, how to give quality service. You can actually develop your course or your online membership on how to pull persons into that direction. Then you can also be a freelancer. It depends on what your expertise and your skills and your natural leaning and gifting is. Because sometimes what we end up doing is not is skills that we have acquired out of convenience. And so we were in an organization that was paying our bills, but that was not our natural gifting or leaning. It was not our natural talent. That was not the natural part of us. That was the convenience part, the competent part, the things that make us open to learn new skills in this position because that's the position we had to live and to survive. We are not talking about those. We are talking about your natural gifting and your talents. As a freelancer, you're doing what you love to do, what you find joy doing, what you will spend hours doing without complaining. That is your natural gifting and talent. And that is what segues you into your purpose. And that is why in my 3 months program and even in my group coaching sessions, I tend to have you do your purpose alignment audit and then a spiritual gift test. The purpose alignment audit takes 3 minutes and the spiritual gift takes 5 minutes. And then we merge and compare and contrast and find the consistent thread or cord, and then we integrate it into what we are doing or what we love to do. And that usually cements persons into a surprise in their purpose, because there are persons sometimes who felt that they were so tucked and then they discovered that they were the clarity seeker, or they felt tucked and they realized that they were the fearful dreamer, or they now realize also that they are the purpose strategist, and that is a different frame completely that surprises them also. So leaning into your calling and embodying what will advance your joyful labor and transitioning it into something meaningful and profitable is sometimes very hard, because it requires faith and it requires confidence, but it more than anything else requires surrender. Surrender to the promptings of your heart, in the nurturing of your soul, and also in the direction that God has established for you before you were born. And that's just the thing, because purpose brings profit, but the sum total of purpose is your spiritual currency. It honors God. Good morning, Charito. Thanks for joining. And so you can start your YouTube channel or blog or a podcast or your Facebook, because it pays. There are points there where you can be paid and you can be doing what you love. Or can become an entrepreneur. Just start your Christian-based business with providing the solutions and solving problems for person in a particular niche. And we want to be clear of that, because you, as a child of God, formed and fashioned fearfully and wonderfully made, you are born to do anything, but you can't do everything, because everything is not your purpose. It is what God has given you to do that makes you feel fulfilled, give the impact, inspire, and grow yourself and others, changing the outcomes and changing the lives. And that also changes your ministry. So you focus on significance, impacting others, serving others, changing their outcomes and their lives instead of success, which is more personal, the accolades, the titles, and the position. Because the role that you play is just the vehicle through which you must press into your why and solve the problems you were created to solve. And that's very important. So as we wind down and as we come to this, we want to say that you must walk by faith even when you can't see. That's where I really want to end. Remember that the Lord your God is good. He gives you the ability to produce wealth. He gives you all your gifts and talents, and he says it must be used to serve. That's in Isaiah. But he also says, if you lack wisdom, you must ask of God, and he will make every single thing that happens in your life work for your good. And so what am I saying? You must take inspired action. When you are at your wit's end and so on, you must not act on from an emotional point. We have established that you're moving to acknowledging how you're feeling honestly, and then you make the mindset shift where you move by faith and not by sight. And then you take the inspired action and you get to the point where you begin to speak it consistently. You speak over positively into your future, so that you press into your purpose and can hear the nudgings on your heart and the promptings that God is placing on your heart. And you can actually nurture your soul and fulfill your purpose. So you want to speak over your new career or business. I'm not defined by my job loss. I'm walking in divine purpose. So those are some of the things we can say. I know the plans you have for me is really to prosper me. I am ready to move into my new beginning. New opportunities are opening. New winds are on the horizon. New doors. Pressing into your why is essential. Very important. Then you want to have the prayer for open doors and financial provision. You want to break the spirit of fear and doubt by declaring, I am fearful. Lord, break the spirit of fear and doubt in my life. Show me the path and establish it for my faith. And you must declare divine opportunities and clarity. Yeah, man. God says, I will make a way in the wilderness. So, God, I am now in a wilderness. What's the way you're making? Just show it to me. And listen, very important. You have made a very important point that I was just about to make. You have to practice listening to God's voice consistently, and you have to make sure that it is God's voice. And God says, you say, God, before you were born, you say, I'm not to be fearful. You say, you will not forsake me. We want to do those prayers and open those doors. Of course, we want to continue to speak, my God shall supply all my needs. It's really one of your affirmations also. So your self-talk must be very positive and it must affirm your faith and your direction. All right. God will do it in the right time. Prepare me, Lord, for the time. Let me know when it is that I am ready to do so and so. And that is what is out there, because we want to stick with the thought that God knows the plans. You want to say that too. I know the plans you have for me, Lord, is to prosper me and to take me to this end. So this is what I want. I want to open a nursing home, or I want to have an old age home. That has always been my dream. Is that your dream, Lord? Is that my purpose? If it is, point me to the direction, to the place where I am to have that location, who specifically what age group I am to serve, and how I am to price my products, and sit down and listen to God's answers and his voice, and for watch things fall into place, because this what you thought was a setback was your setup for your new assignment. And God had to take away the distractions from you, which was your job. And although you might have felt bitter, you might have felt hurt, you might have felt betrayed or angry, remember I said that you are not to focus on the what, you are to focus on the why. What is the lessons you want me to learn? What is happening now? What are the good things that came out of this? How did you prepare me? And you move on faithfully, and you move on joyfully. And so, for those of you who would want some support or some help to ratify your purpose and to take inspired action, and also to be a part of a community that can help you, that can encourage you, that can support you, that you can vent and you can be intentionally focused, then you can join my Purpose Actualization Accelerator group coaching sessions that are once per month. And for this month, it will be on the 20th of March. It's usually for 60 to 90 minutes. The link for you to register and go on the wait list is really in my LinkedIn post. You can always DM me, or you can schedule your Soul Sync product strategic call to see the other services that I offer. My signature program is really a 3-month program that is also a Purpose Actualization Accelerator program for 3 months. There are persons who may look at the program and find that they need just the month. And so you want to move from where you are to where you're meant to be and live your fulfilling life on purpose, whether because of a job loss or because your priorities no longer match where you are, your core values are no longer in sync, there is some misalignment or disconnect, there is something you're searching for that you can't quite put your hand on, then this group assists you, and my program brings you to that place where you can press into your purpose and transition into a meaningful connection that is also profitable. All right. Joan is saying that the daily reaffirming it to yourself and believing it is also divine timing as well. And patience plays a role as well. And Leslie always says that it took her over 20 years. I might be misquoting her now with the number of years to write the her book. And rather, and she's saying things happen. It took her 20 years for the preparation to put all of that together. It might have been more than the 20, but I don't know why I'm stuck on 20. If I'm saying the years wrong, Leslie, please correct me. But it took her all of that time, and it was a preparation ground, and she had to be listening for God's voice consistently, and she had to work for when the universe told her that this is the time. This is now when you're ready. And it's a best-selling author, and she has a trailer that is phenomenal. And when her movie comes out with that book, I'm just waiting to watch that movie. So we want to make sure that we want to understand that when we tap into a purpose, it becomes joyful labor. And it's in fact impact, inspires, and grow you and others. It changes outcomes, it changes lives, and it changes your ministry. So I always end with a prayer, and it says, Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for the clarity and vision you provide. Guide us as we seek your will and choose the work that aligns with your plans for lives. May we use our insights and grow in faith and purpose this year. All right. So that is where we are. I just want to thank you for joining today. And I really hope that someone benefited from this. I'm hoping that we have a blessed month and that we have a purposeful year. Also, you can engage my services as a coach, leadership consultant, life and career coach. All right, we have audiobook out now. And the book too will be in spring, audiobook. So the audiobook we can get your audiobook on Amazon, Leslie. Thank you, John, for those kind words. And they have two books out, The Gut Health That We Have and Self-Care. If you have not gotten that book, you need to. Very powerful, nice, small, compact books that are out there. The audiobook is on Amazon. Can we get it on Amazon, Leslie? All right, so I think we can get it on Amazon. Yes, I think we can get it on Amazon. All right, have a great day, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to be with us and also every week to support and affirm the sessions. God bless you all, and may you have a great day. Okay, it was launched yesterday. All right, Leslie, launched yesterday, and it can be had on Amazon. Yes, I need an audio copy. All right, thank you so much. Bye, everyone.